On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, college basketball has to get here. Basketball in general has to get here. I can't do it anymore. I think the AP poll is supposed to come out next week. It's usually a mid-October deal. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it's going to be Monday. We're going to get the preseason AP poll. I need it. I need it badly. I'm not going to lie to you, Tate. I can't do right now, NBA preseason, it's just like Bronny James went 0 for 3 again. And LeBron's tweeting about like not wanting to play preseason games in Milwaukee. And I'm just like, God damn, can we get the games going already? College basketball, it's sort of the same thing. The news right now in college basketball, Danny Hurley is fighting with Evan Miyakawa because Evan Miyakawa had UConn like 9th or something in his preseason algorithm. Evan Miyakawa is a friend of this program. He comes on the show fairly regularly. I like Evan. I like his work, especially when he puts the Buckeyes higher in his algorithm than all the other algorithms out there. But at the same time, if I had won back-to-back national championships and I felt pretty good about my team coming into the season and I saw that we were preseason number 9, I'd get pretty upset. But at the same time, Evan is like, listen, man, they're computers. That's not me saying it. But at the same time, who's controlling the computer, Evan? I don't know. Point is, I just need some basketball, man. We got to get these secret scrimmages going. We got to get these charity exhibitions going. We are very, very, very close, and I just need it because that's the news. There's also like Goodman just out of nowhere tweets that AJ Dybantsa is asking for $7 to $9 million, and I shouldn't care. AJ Dybantsa is not even in college basketball this year. He's what the fuck, dude? Like, Cooper Flagg is next man up. Like, I'm excited about Cooper Flagg, and then all of a sudden, this Dybantsa is asking for $7 to $9 million tweet hits, and now I find myself last night, like I'm in like a BYU rabbit hole because Dybantsa, like it feels like BYU is the leader in the clubhouse, and he's asking for like almost $10 million for 1 year of basketball. Like he's gonna be on campus for 5 months. And he might get it from BYU. So I'm in this rabbit hole reading about how BYU is getting these. They got like a Russian dude that's going to be fucking awesome this year. Cannon Catchings from my hometown was committed to Purdue, decommits. We talked about that last week. And Purdue is like, we don't want dudes that want to have sex with girls. And or Painter said that at the big. He's like, we don't want dudes that are out with their girlfriends. And Cannon Catchings like, fuck it, I'll go to BYU. And you're scratching your head. You're like, what is it about BYU? Now all of a sudden, I'm in this BYU rabbit hole. We got playoff baseball going on. We got Thursday night football. And I'm sitting on my couch reading about how BYU is getting all these dudes and like, what the hell's going on at BYU? And I blame Jeff Goodman for just dropping an AJ Dybantsa because it seems like Dybantsa might be trending towards BYU. But the bigger problem, Tate, is that AJ Dybantsa is not even college basketball. I should be fired up about this season, this crop of freshmen, all the talent we have coming back, and this is what I'm doing with my time, and all that is to say we got to get these games going. So there's a few things we're gonna pick at today. I want to talk a little bit about these conferences because I think basically every power conference is wide open, except for probably the Big East. Dan Hurley, if you're watching, UConn will go undefeated and beat everybody by 30, but every other conference feels a little wide open, so that's pretty interesting to me. But yeah, we got to get these games going. There's no other way to say it. Like I'm just ready for, or give me the AP poll. Just drop it right now so I can pick it apart. Let's just get into it. All right, I want to talk about Danny Hurley and Evan Miyakawa, but less about their. I don't even know if you want to call it a feud because Evan's like the nicest guy in the world. Mm-hmm. He's just like, yeah, my bad, and just kind of diffused it pretty quickly. I care less about the feud, and I care more about the idea that UConn has to.
Do they?
They have to fall off at some point. Or do they? So I want to talk about that. I do want to talk about AJ Dybantsa, the Goodman tweet, which like came out of nowhere. You showed it to me. What?
Yeah, he was talking with Fanta, and they were. Here's my thing. They're talking NIL money, and everyone has the same answer. Well, I don't know it specifically. Like, I don't know it exact, but what I'm hearing is.
What I'm hearing, yeah.
But we hear that all the time, and usually when we hear it, it's like, I'm hearing
right.
1 million.
I swear these
numbers
are they're not accurate.
I'm hearing
they can't
2 million.
Yeah.
When he said 7 to 9 million for AJ Dybantsa.
Yeah.
How long is AJ Dybantsa going to be at your campus?
There's no way it's 7 to 9 million. But also, I don't fucking know. I don't know. The NIL, the numbers are, there's no way they're right.
Can a player be worth 7 to 9 million? Is there any player in the history?
The answer is No, unless you're thinking like I'm trying to think of any player in history.
Like looking back,
I
Michael
think
Jordan was worth 7
If Zion Williamson had gone to looking back, like Michael Jordan was worth 7 or 9 million. Steph Curry to Davidson was probably worth a fuck ton of money. Yeah, because it's like we don't have any other guy to hang our hat on, and now we have Steph Curry. So like if Zion would have gone to like Zion at Duke, I don't know if that's worth 7 or 9 million. Zion was like. I'm just trying to think of like recent dudes that could have, got a price tag like that. Because Zion was not just really fucking good. He was, as the kids say, box office. Like
right. He was getting
eyeballs. He was getting money flowing.
But how long was he there? Like when you went to Ohio State, didn't you say Conley and Oden? They didn't stay a full
year. Yeah.
Like,
but the problem, the problem is like the NCAA tournament is such a crapshoot that there's no guarantee that like if you get the best player, you could get bounced in the first round, and then all the idea of like if we get this guy, we're gonna go to the Final Four, we're gonna compete for national championship for sure, and we're gonna get all that revenue share throughout the NCAA tournament. Then that might be worth it in the end, but there's no guarantee. It's impossible. That's why we love the NCAA tournament. You can't do that. Like, you can't just – Zion didn't go to the Final Four. So it's like –
yeah, AJ Dybantsa commits to BYU tomorrow for $7 million. That doesn't guarantee – like, are they favorites in the Big 12? They're not a top seed. They're not –
No. Kansas will be favorites in the Big 12 no matter who they have.
So
that's how it works. Right. Kansas is always preseason number 1.
So how – I just don't know how you can justify – I love it. Yeah. I love that BYU's over there just being like, I need to come up with $10 million to get a kid who's currently in high school.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to – I don't know. Put a pin in that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about UConn as well because that's interesting to me. I think right now though I want to make sure I talk about what's going on in Michigan State. And number one, it's just to shout out Cohen Carr for another. Michigan State did their fucking green white. I don't know. Midnight Madnesses are dead, but they still pump out like clips of the scrimmages or the fan things. And Cohen Carr dunks from the free throw line. Between the legs, he's the best dunker in college basketball. He's so fucking electric, and I don't want to say I forgot he was on Michigan State, but it was a nice reminder that like, oh yeah, because Michigan State's gonna fall off a little bit, and there are a little bit of questions about like in a wide open Big Ten, like where does Michigan State fit in? Their freshmen, they were supposed to be pretty good last year. If you remember last year going into the season, they were a trendy pick to win the conference. Purdue was a 1 seed the year before, obviously, loses to the 16 seed. Purdue brings everybody back, and for some reason going into the season last year, people were like, I don't know, man, because Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. I think Michigan State is going to win the conference. And I was one of the brave souls who stood up and said, no, Purdue is going to fucking win this conference. What are we doing? Zach Edey is still there. And what did I get for it? What was the things I got for it, Tate? Purdue fans fucking hate me. They hate me.
You put them on your back.
1 year ago, almost to the day, I sat here and I said, Purdue will make the Final Four but not win the national championship. Purdue makes the Final Four, does not win the national championship. How many letters have I gotten saying, holy shit, you called?
And you donated to them.
And I donated to them, and that's the thanks I get.
I should be Mr.
But Michigan State was highly thought of going into the year last year because they were the formula was bring everyone back, quote unquote, plus great freshman class. Like that was, you put those two together, that's a formula that works, plus Tom Izzo. They were the trendy pick to win the Big Ten, to go to a Final Four, to be the team out of the Big Ten that could win the national championship. And then I think the freshman class, Xavier Booker and Cohen Carr, were the two big guys. The two big names, I should say, not the big guys. They were highly thought of, and I don't want to say they were bad, but they were not quite as good as we were expecting. Anyway, all that is to say, I don't really know what to expect from Michigan State this year, but watching Cohen Carr dunk from the free throw line between the legs, I was like...
Over 5 students.
Fuck yes, I'm back.
Yeah, Michigan State's projected 5th in the Big Ten. This is media poll season, by the way. Preseason media poll, Michigan State 5th, got 1 first-place vote. After seeing Cohen Carr go free throw line over the students,
that's as good a
between
case,
the legs.
Yeah. That's as good a case as anybody has. For in the Big Ten.
You've got to.
He was. I will say, like he wasn't bad last year. I thought he was fine for Michigan State, but it was so funny when you would watch Michigan State. And it's going to happen again this year. You could see the lob plays coming a mile away, and you just couldn't do anything to stop it. Like you know basketball. You see it's like a zone. And the team is just like very methodically like dribbling nowhere just to like get the defense to shift.
It goes
and
back,
they turn and they throw it back, and then like there's like a big man lumbering over to set a back screen on like the opposite wing, and you just see it coming a mile away. And then Cohen Carr just sticks his nuts in the rim and flushes it. I'm excited for him, if nothing else. Out of East Lansing, but there was that. But then there was also Devin Booker.
Let's talk.
What? Explain this to me. What exactly?
So Devin Booker, who we all know, went right from high school to the pros. It's a damn shame that he never had an opportunity to play college basketball. Because if he did, so what happened was the Suns had a preseason game against the Pistons, and they played it at the Breslin Center.
Yeah, the Suns owner Matt Ishbia was a walk-on at Michigan State.
So they play it in East Lansing, and before the game, Booker comes out warming up in Michigan State.
Crazy.
Talks to reporters, praises Izzo, says how he's always wanted to be, since he was a kid, wanted to be a Michigan State
Spartan. That's all he's
Spartan.
ever wanted. He'd do anything to
Gave the team personalized Michigan State Nike shoes. Went to the Tigers game rocking all Michigan State gear. And then it hit me. Devin Booker did play college basketball. And my biggest thing about it, it's not like, okay, he's the hometown kid from, I don't know, Toledo. Mm-hmm. But you're never going to go to Toledo if you're a top recruit.
Right.
Okay, so you had to go off to bigger and better things. He's from Grand Rapids. Tom Izzo's their coach. Michigan State is a powerhouse.
They recruited him.
They offered him.
They recruited him. They wanted him.
Oh, and that's all he ever wanted.
I would be so mad if I was a Michigan State fan.
And he thinks, the way he's acting is like he's the hometown kid. Like, I'm back at my...
That's brutal.
But what do you...
That's brutal, dude. He didn't even start at Kentucky. That's the other thing. You went to Kentucky and came off the bench, dude. Played behind the Harrison twins.
That tells me Kentucky was offering the bag before you could offer.
Well, yeah, no shit.
No shit, but...
no shit. I don't know why guys do this. I mean, I know why they do it, but I don't know why they think they can get away with it, I should say. They do it because they're trying to endear themselves to, like, other college fan bases. This is, I will say...
Do it to Kentucky.
Do it to Kentucky, though. This is my argument, though, for why college basketball is still, as other pro leagues become, popular. And, like, the G League Ignite, RIP, was blossoming, and people were like, why would anybody go play college? Why not just go to the G League? Why not go to Australia? Why not do... There is something to be said about when you play college basketball and then you go on to your NBA career, you will always have a built-in fan base. You will always have, like, these people that will... Greg Oden is a great example of a guy who goes to the NBA, does not pan out in the way that people think.
Beloved.
Greg moves back to Columbus, Ohio, and everyone's like, we don't give a fuck what you did in the NBA, dude. You're a god to us. And having that, like, built-in fan base is like Zach Edey would be another example. Zach Edey, I think, has looked good in preseason. I expect him to have a pretty good NBA career. He's going to stick around for a while. But if Zach Edey, if you come to find out Zach Edey's just not an NBA player and he bounces out of the league, just go back to Purdue, dude.
Can do whatever
you can do whatever you want. And so I think there's like a value in that. But then I don't. So, like, I understand, like, Devin Booker's like, why not? Okay, so I have the Kentucky fans. What if I just, like, scoop up these Michigan State fans over here? But you can't do that, dude.
And what's Tom Izzo doing?
Yeah.
Like, he's in a pickle because you want all the good publicity. Like, okay, Devin Booker's giving us shoes. That's good for recruiting, whatever. Tom Izzo, you recruited Devin Booker. He turned you down, and he went to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting there like...
They were in the same Final Four, dude.
Oh, my God.
You realize Devin Booker almost played Michigan State in the national championship. If there was a third-place game, they would have played each other.
He would have had to go split jersey. But at least, like, LeBron does this with Ohio State.
LeBron does this with every school. He does this with every. He would have gone to Duke, Carolina, Ohio State, Akron.
He loves to say where
USC,
he would have gone.
Miami.
But LeBron didn't go to college. So he can play that game.
He can do that. Kobe did the same thing where there's article. You just Google Kobe Bryant and then literally any other college and hit enter. There'll be a quote where it's like, yeah, man, I honestly, I was this close to committing to Utah.
But they can do that because they didn't go to college. Devin Booker went to college, and he's like, man, if only I could. I know. Only had a chance to go to MSU.
And yet, I got to say, Tate, I made a promise to Devin Booker and the American people after the Olympics. I can't.
You're a book. You're a book guy.
I'm a book guy. I said I would be. it's gonna test my resolve. Because Embiid, the same thing. Like, I saw Embiid in media days wearing the Sixers uniform, and just all the flood, like the instinct came back, and I had to stop myself. I was like, listen, man, we don't win a gold medal without Joel Embiid. We don't. We don't win the gold.
You know what this is like? This is like when Remember the Titans, they go off to camp, and they're like, hey, when we get back, everyone's going to try to pull us apart.
Yeah.
But remember what we did at camp. You got to remember what the Olympics was like.
I got to remember these boys brought a gold medal to me.
We came together in France.
We all won a gold medal. That's how it works. That's how the Olympics work. If you're American, you won a gold medal. Devin Booker won us a gold medal. So
he did.
But at the same time, I mean, he was. I saw he was talking about like Drew Neitzel was his favorite player growing up and all that. Drew Neitzel has his. Did you see that clip? Like Drew Neitzel has his kid there, and his kid's wearing a Devin Booker jersey, and Book's like dapping up Drew Neitzel, taking pictures with it. It was crazy.
This is
like if you were in a coma for the last 15 years or something, you'd be like, oh, is this guy like one of the greatest
of all time
that played at Michigan State?
Is it
like Magic in the Devin Booker?
He put on Michigan State shorts to warm up for the Suns game. There's kids that went to that Suns game that are gonna think Devin Booker played at Michigan State.
You're right. It'd be one thing if he was like, I grew up going to these Eastern Michigan games, or and you're like, yeah, but you were never actually going to seriously go play MAC basketball. We know that. Michigan State was in they were in the 2015 Final Four with Devin Booker. Anyway, yeah, that was funny. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by DraftKings. The roller coaster of an NFL season is moving right along, and it promises to be a month full of tricks, treats, and, of course, touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is the number one place to bet on touchdowns. Running it in from the 1 or an 80-yard bomb, we don't care how they score touchdowns. We want to bet on them. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here's a reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. That's code Titus, Titus, for new customers, and get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, let's talk about UConn. I want to talk about this because I think this is it's a discussion to be had about like what you do with preseason is starting to break my brain. I'm going to be completely honest, break the fourth wall. Preseason for college basketball is breaking my brain because of the transfer portal and because I don't think it's hard to like keep tabs on the guys moving anymore. Like I've gotten not that bad at that. Like I can figure out the rosters and I know who's at Kansas now, and I know, who left here, who's there, all that sort of shit. I know who UConn lost, who they brought in. I can process all of that. That is not a new thing anymore. What is difficult is understanding how all the pieces will fit together. And I say that to say, last year going into the season, UConn was highly ranked. I was not skeptical. I remember vividly just being like, I don't know, man. Like the people they're losing, the big three they're losing, Jackson and Hawkins and Sanogo, they were fucking awesome. And like I saw with my own two eyes what those three guys brought to the table. They're losing those guys. I know they're bringing in good players. I just want to see what it looks like first because I can't conceptualize what this will look like. I got to look at it, and I was like, I'll be goddamn, this might be a better UConn team than the team before it. And away we go, and they win another national title. Now we're at a point going into this season where Danny Hurley's trying to pull the Tom Mansky. I'm trying to make that a thing, by the way. Do you remember the Mansky videos?
Explain it to me.
Fuck, dude, this is going to be an uphill battle. Tom Mansky made these videos back in the 90s. Those commercials that would come on like during Nickelodeon where it was – I don't know how to explain it other than just like – it was like a Little League baseball team that looked like a fucking North Korea.
Wait, I know that with
video.
Fred McGriff?
Yeah, with Fred McGriff.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And all these kids are just like in unison, like holding their arms back. And then like if this came out of North Korea, we'd all be terrified.
Yeah.
But like
it's like a gym class in China.
Yeah, but it's like just some old guy in Florida like just throwing grounders to 12-year-olds. And Fred McGriff's in it.
They're all just bent over, pitching at the same time.
But the thing that sticks in my mind is like the narrator of the video is like Tom Amansky won back-to-back AAU national champions, and that just like burns in my. So anytime I hear back-to-back, I'm like, that's the Amansky right there. So anyway, Danny Hurley's trying to pull off the Amansky, and I'm in the same position where it's like UConn, Aiden Mahaney's coming in. Liam McNeely, those are the two guys they get. They get Mahaney from St. Mary's, who as a freshman, he averaged like 14 a game as a freshman at St. Mary's, which is like averaging 35 a game. You know, at St. Mary's, 14 a game is fucking nuts. Sophomore year, he kind of has the exact same season. His efficiency goes down. You can chalk that up to like he lost Logan Johnson, I think was the guy's name, was the guard that he was with freshman year, and then like he leaves, I think, sophomore year. And the defense can key more on him in his sophomore year to where the efficiency goes down because it's like he doesn't have quite as much help. He's not as much of a surprise. The scouting reports out there, whatever. He kind of has a similar year. Now, Aiden Mahaney is from what I've seen, he's a good basketball player. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched every second of him at St. Mary's. He's pretty good. Liam McNeely's a 5-star coming in. Who Indiana, I can't remember. Was he committed to Indiana, or Indiana thought they had him? And then he goes to UConn last second. He was a highly thought of guy that a lot of these, schools that are throwing the bag around wanted, and now he's
decommitted from Indiana. Yeah,
he was committed to Indiana. He decommitted, goes to UConn. Those are the guys they're bringing in. Now I think they're good. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to say they're not going to be good, but I'm back in the same position, Tate, where I'm like, you're losing Tristan Newton, you're losing Donovan Clingan. You're losing Cam Spencer. I'm falling into the trap again, and like I see this.
I hope you're listening, Danny Hurley. I hope you're listening.
I see this yesterday, and I'm like, at some point they have to fall off. But like, I'm not here to say that UConn is not going to be like they're going to be third in the Big East. Of course they're going to be really fucking good. But is it unreasonable to think that like at some point, someone has to be brave enough to step up and say, I do not believe that UConn will win the fucking national championship? And Evan Miyakawa was that brave soul. He put him ninth. He didn't put him 94th. He put him ninth.
Let me let you in on a couple secrets real quick. First secret is if he would have put UConn 1, Danny Hurley would have been upset that they were number 1.
Yeah, he would have been like, that's disrespectful to the guys we lost.
Like, do you see what we lost? You guys haven't done shit in a UConn uniform yet. My favorite part about the whole thing, so Danny Hurley dunks on him, and he's like, "Oh, thank you. By the way, what were we ranked the past 2 years?"
Yeah.
Do you know what they were ranked last year, preseason? In his
rankings,
yeah,
probably top 10 as well.
6th. I mean, they were 6th. Now the year before they were 30th, but that was an out of the nowhere, like whatever. But 6th. And finishing as national champions when you're preseason 6th.
I forgot about Stephon Castle, too. That's another guy they lost. Their freshman, who first-round draft pick. They lost him as well. They just slew. And, yeah, like, of course you're just going to plug in. They bring back Caravan. They bring back Samson Johnson. Like, there is a little bit of a carryover, and that's what the good programs do, is that you're going to lose guys. They're going to go to the draft. They're going to move on. But you bring enough back to now you look at Alex Caravan, and you're like, listen, man, you've kind of been – I don't want to say a role guy because that diminishes what he's been to this UConn team, but you haven't been the best player on our last 2 title teams. He hasn't. You've fit in where we needed you. Now it's your turn. You step up. You be the guy, and you keep it going. And that's what a good program does. Is it keeps going that way. You're not at a certain point. You're not going to win the national championship. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen this year, Tate. But I'm just like. I don't know. I'm falling into the exact same trap where I'm like, I don't think it's crazy to have, if you're someone that has UConn like 7th going into the season,
it's not the most disrespectful. I do think,
especially with what Bama brings back and Kansas brings back. Gonzaga has like their whole same fucking team, and UConn fans are gonna hear that and be like, Gonzaga, get them out of my face. We're so much better than Gonzaga, and you probably are. But again, Danny Hurley has been a coach in basketball for a while, so like. It's fascinating to me, and I don't think it's undeserved. He's won 2 national titles in a row, but there's like a belief that when Danny Hurley gets to the NCAA tournament, he's going to win the NCAA tournament. Now, that is just not true because we saw Danny Hurley in the NCAA tournament before these last 2 tournaments.
Yeah, this isn't his 3rd year of college basketball.
Yeah, but like we are behaving like this is what if it's just Donovan Clingan? What if it's just like
we look back and
it was just like it was just Donovan Clingan the whole time? I don't know. I'm not here to tell you I have the answers. I'm saying that like asking questions is okay.
I do like, so Miyakawa was like, it wasn't a feud because his response, his explanation was like, listen, Danny, like you guys being ninth is the biggest tip of the cap I've ever given to you.
Yeah.
Like my model respects your coaching so much. If you would have gone to the Lakers, you would have been the 25th team in this model. You're ninth with not returning.
Okay, can I pause right there and just ask, how do you put a model together where you factor in the coaching?
I don't know, but
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just trying to understand that.
If he had left this summer, my model would have had him in 20 to 25, but his coaching factor elevates that a tremendous amount.
I don't understand algorithms at all. I don't understand
I
don't understand the models.
But I love it. Anytime it favors my guys, I'm an analytics guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm the same way. I just don't the coach leaving. I don't know how you factor in a coach.
Yeah, isn't because that's subjective.
Yeah.
Like is he a good coach is not objective.
I had Evan on the show last year heading into the season, and when it was probably again like a year ago to the day probably because it was he had put out his preseason.
When he disrespected UConn,
he put out
sixth.
He put out his preseason list, and I had him on the show, and I was like, "Can you explain to me?" Again, I'm not attacking it. I just want to know. I'm a dumbass. How do you have if it's a computer and you're going off of data on the court and all that? How do you have preseason analytics when nothing's happened yet?
Yeah, like how does Cooper Flagg factor into your preseason analytics?
Yeah, how do you factor that in? How do you factor in the freshmen? And he explained it. And I was like, I said, oh, okay, I got it.
You didn't got it?
I did not got it, dude. I did not got it. I was like, fuck. I'm left more confused.
He has Houston, Gonzaga, Duke, Bama, Auburn, Iowa State, Kansas, Arizona before UConn. I don't think that's with what you're losing.
Arizona might be I'd be upset if I was Danny Hurley about Arizona, but
put it on the bulletin board.
Arizona I might. But no, I care less about the algorithm part of it all, and just more about like the narrative around UConn or the belief around UConn of like, I mean, I listen, when the bracket comes out, and if UConn this season does in fact end up being like a top 3 seed, which is not that crazy.
They are
not that crazy of a
DraftKings Sportsbook. They are the favorite.
They're literally the favorites right now. Yeah. So when the bracket comes out and UConn is a 2, a 3 seed, maybe a 1 seed, maybe it does pan out that they are a 1 seed. I think they're going to beat the Big East. I think when I look at as an aside, when I look at like the power conferences, I think every conference is going to be pretty competitive, except like in terms of the power conferences, except for probably the Big East. Competitive at the top. I mean, like I do think that there are multiple contenders for who could win the thing, except for probably the Big East. It is going to be UConn. So like, you know, if they lose 1 game in the Big East or 2 or something, they just like have a dominant run. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course they could be a 1 seed. And when that happens, of course I'm going to pick them to win the national title. You have to at this point. But there is going to be a point, Tate, whether it's this year or 7 years from now, they're not going to win every fucking national title. And someone's going to be right. Like someone's going to say it going into the season. Like, I think this is the year they fall off, and they're going to be right. But, you know, this was kind of like people predicting like the downfall of Tom Brady, where it was like they were doing that for 12 years.
Getting your reps in, and at one point.
And LeBron, I mean, it's the same thing. You're like, I think this is the year LeBron falls off, and then he averages like 25 and
Cody, save that clip.
9-9.
If UConn rattles off 7 straight, Titus will look like a fool. Like an idiot.
I think I'm taking the approach of I think it's disrespectful to the guys that they lost to pretend like you can just lose them and be just as good as you were last year. That's my thought.
I agree.
You can't just look at UConn and be like, you know what, Tristan Newton and Castle and Spencer and Klingon, they're not going to miss those guys. I think that's disrespectful to those 4 guys.
And the fact of the matter is that Danny Hurley is a very good basketball coach, and everyone knows it. There are also very good basketball coaches in the game and that have come before him. Good basketball coaches don't win.
Yeah.
Like, they never lose. Like, there are other people that are going to be on the other sidelines that are good basketball coaches too. Danny Hurley's not better than everyone to the point where he's going to win every year.
I'll say this about the difference between UConn this year and last year. I don't feel like the last year, I think a lot of it was Stephon Castle because I don't pay as much attention to recruiting as I should, and he was fucking awesome for them, but I think UConn fans knew he was going to be, and there was a ton of hype around him. And when I was raising concerns about like how are they going to backfill the dudes they're losing, a lot of UConn fans were like, just wait and see
we got
we got coming. I think they're high on these guys, but I'm sensing that the vibes from UConn fans are not quite as like fuck you, we're gonna run this back, and it's more like I think we'll be in the mix. Of course we'll be in the mix, and of course we're always gonna have a chance. But last year there was like a definitive like, listen, you can say all you want that we're gonna fall off. Do so at your own caution.
They were dragging their balls a little bit.
They were very much confident going into the season. I think this year they're confident. How could you not be? You've won 2 in a row, but I think it's more of like a we're going to be in the mix, and then I hope it all works out for us. Yeah. Versus like no, we're running this back, which is what they were last year.
It felt like they were all about the repeat. This year it's like we're going to outperform what you think we can perform with our team.
Yeah. This year's more of like a realistic like how it should work to win a national title, which is like you don't go into a season saying we are head and shoulders better than everybody else and we're gonna just dominate everybody. That is extremely rare. The way most national title paths shake out is like there are 7 to 10 teams that are good enough to win six games in an NCAA tournament. We believe we are one of them. Let's get to March. Let's cross our fingers. We don't
have a little luck, hit a couple shots.
Yeah. And I think this year it's more that vibe where it's like of course we're gonna have a great fucking team, but I don't think they're like pulling their balls out and dragging them all over everybody.
Are you cheering for them? Like last year, 37-3, dominant. That would be so good for college basketball. I think if we had a three-peat.
I'm not cheering for them.
Okay,
is that an answer? I'm not. I'll put it this way: I'm not cheering for them.
Well,
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
I think from the UConn thing with me is like, in general you do cheer for the newcomer, and UConn has won 2 in a row. So going into this season, you would be like, all right, let's get something new, let's get something fresh. Like, is this Gonzaga's year to break through? Can we get Iowa State's going to be good? They were fucking awesome last year. They bring back like their top 4 players. Maybe it's like Iowa State. Like, how fun of a story would that be if Iowa State won a national title, or a school like that is generally where my mind goes. And yet I enjoy watching UConn basketball so much that I think that ultimately trumps everything else. Where it's like I just want to watch good teams be good, and the older I get, the less I care about. And frankly, a lot of it has to do with like the coaches that you grow up hating and feeling some type of way about are now leaving the game. The heroes and the villains of yesteryear, we'll say, are like now phasing their way out to where it's like, I mean, I don't really hate or love some of these coaches more than any others, to where like. I'm saying that to say like the storylines or the vibes around certain programs aren't as strong with me as I've gotten older, if that makes sense. So I just gravitate to like I just want to watch good teams. For me, it's also like I want you're asking is it good for college basketball? I think it is good for college basketball to have teams that are good. Right. I think it's good for college basketball to like be able to point to a team, and UConn was that last year, to the people that are like, man, I can't watch college because it's a brick fest. These guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. There's no skill, all that. To have teams that you can point to and be like, dude, you should turn this team on because they move the ball, they cut hard, they play great defense, like all that sort of thing. I get fired up watching that. So in that regard, like, yeah, if UConn wins it, if UConn plays, they don't have to be as talented as they were last year, but if they continue, and I assume they will because it's the same coaching staff and all that, if they play like the same style of basketball, then yeah, I'm probably going to just be like, I want to hate them, but I mean, they're so fucking fun to watch. How can you?
I hope we have this same conversation a year from now where we're sitting here and they've lost everybody and we have a bunch of newcomers, but Evan's model is just like his coaching is so good that I had to put him number 1 overall, coming off 3 titles. I
mean, there's going to be a year where they're going to miss on some recruits. There's going to be a year where like they go to the transfer portal, like Kansas did last. Funny enough, they got Cam Spencer last year. If memory serves, Cam Spencer was not supposed to. I got to pick my words carefully, but like Kansas had like 1 spot left. They were looking at Nick Timberlake was the kid's name that they brought in, and Cam Spencer I think was the other guy. And they go with Nick Timberlake, who was like a scorer at what school did he come from? Was it Towson? Is he from fucking Towson?
Timberlake?
Yeah.
It does say, they chose Timberlake over.
They chose Timberlake over Spencer. Spencer then lands at
Towson University.
Yeah, Towson. Timberlake averaged 1,000 points a game at Towson, and they were like, all right, that's the guy we need. We want his shooting. We want his
Holy cow, he averaged Jesus.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, no. What are you saying?
I was looking up Timberlake to get you his previous score, and I was going through his minutes. I was like, this motherfucker lit it up.
Oh, that was his Towson?
But it was his minutes per game.
Oh, it was his minutes
per game. I was like, this dude.
Yeah, so what I was saying, so Kansas last year goes with Timberlake over Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
That, probably proved to be a mistake. Spencer's a better basketball player. Spencer ends up at UConn, and I'm using that as an example to say, at some point that's going to happen at UConn where they're going to hit the transfer portal. They're going to be like, this is a guy we've identified as being awesome. We bring him in. He's not quite as good as they thought. And they take a step back like Kansas kind of did last year. Kansas was didn't have an awesome season, or by Kansas standards at least. So they're going to fall off, and then we're all going to look back on it and be like, "Damn, we should have seen this coming." But I'm not going to be the one to say that it's happening this year. But it's going to happen at some point. And I'll defend my guy Evan Miyakawa for ranking them fucking ninth. Ninth. All right, let's talk about AJ Dybantsa. Because I don't want all of my BYU. I don't even want to say it was a rabbit hole because it wasn't really that deep. We could have gone deeper, but you gotta be careful diving into BYU rabbit holes, especially. You gotta be careful diving into.
Anytime you get around a BYU hole, you gotta you're gonna want to be careful. You're gonna want to be careful.
I'm not trying to. Yeah, to fall too far into things, but BYU is suddenly becoming a player in college basketball in a way that I certainly didn't see coming, and maybe you should have, because basically it's this: that BYU, they first of all have the kid from Russia, Demin. There's a freshman kid. I don't know why I'm looking at you guys like you would know more than me. I don't know why I'm doing that.
Igor Demin.
He's nasty, dude. He's like 6'8". Is he 6'8"? Long arm, dude.
6'9", highly skilled.
I was watching.
He looks like the dude.
I was watching clips of him the other day, and he's just he looks fucking nasty. They get the Cannon Catchings kid. Like I said, he was a 5-star and then became a 4-star, and I don't know where he's at now. He's not like he's not a Dybantsa level talent, but I think that he's going to be he's thought to be a future first-round pick. And all of this is happening after they lost their coach. They lose Mark Pope to Kentucky. He takes Jackson Robinson with him. They're the way college basketball generally works is that BYU would be rebuilding right now, and BYU would take a few years to get some things going. And now all of a sudden you look up the number one recruit, who I thought Cooper Flagg was the greatest recruit ever, but now all of a sudden there's a recruit coming behind Cooper Flagg that's even better than Cooper Flagg. AJ Dybantsa has got BYU in his mix. Now he hasn't committed. I'm not saying he's going to go to BYU, but I think if you're a casual college basketball observer, you might be scratching your head like, what is it about BYU? You know what it is? He's probably Mormon. That's what it is. He's probably, it's got to be what it is. He's just Mormon, because that's the connect. There's really only one Mormon school of note in college basketball. If you're Mormon, you go to BYU. That's probably. Oh, he's not Mormon? Oh, fuck.
It's the craziest part of the whole story.
Then how is he doing this? And how he's doing this, Tate, is the Utah Jazz owner, Ryan Smith, is a billionaire. And I think I have to believe that's just what's going on. Is that is it a coincidence that the Utah Jazz as a franchise are falling off a little bit, and they are going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA? They're not going to probably be the worst, but they are among the worst teams in the NBA right now. But BYU basketball. Now, BYU, I think the Big 12 poll came out yesterday or 2 days ago or something. I think they were picked ninth, which says more about the depth of the Big 12 to me than BYU. I don't think that's – I think the days of there used to be a time where you were picked ninth in your conference. You were like, fuck, we're going to miss the tournament. But now it's that doesn't mean anything. I think BYU could be pretty good this year. But they get Kevin Young, who's got all these NBA ties. He was on staff for Monty Williams in Phoenix, and he's got Chris Paul in his back pocket. And Chris Paul's like, yeah, I'm all about BYU apparently, and Chris Paul is gonna help his guy Like Chris Paul is like an ambassador to like everybody
Ambassador to the game, yeah.
to the game. He's like an ambassador to everybody that he likes. So they got Chris Paul now. They got Ryan Smith dropping bags left and right. And suddenly I'm looking at the landscape of it all. BYU's in the Big 12, the best basketball conference in the country, and I'm like, I'll be goddamn. I think BYU is going to be a player, whether they get Dybantsa or not. If you have a billionaire, it's one thing to like have a billionaire alum. It's another thing to have a billionaire alum who cares about the program. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to have a billionaire alum who like lives and breathes sports. You know what I mean? Like there's like the Walton family at Arkansas. Of course they care about Arkansas, and of course I feel like Ryan Smith is like actually like wants to be on the court with the play. Like he's like a young dude that like wants to actually like fucking hoop and like you know what I mean? Like there's like levels to this where like he wants to like be in it and like do whatever it takes. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm like, holy shit, I think BYU is a program that's never made a Final Four. They've only had like the Jimmer era was like the only era where they were like going to the tournament every single year consistently.
They've only had 2 in the past decade.
Yeah.
Like they were consistent for the Jimmer era. They went like 6-7 years in a row. 2 in the last decade, not overly dominant in anything. How are they getting? They have that Russian guy's projected top 10.
Top 10.
Now they're talking about getting the number 1 recruit of all time in Dybantsa.
I think right now, this year's BYU team, and listen, a lot of things happen. Players that are highly thought of, we find out they suck and their draft stock tanks. That happens all the time. So I'm not getting ahead of myself. But as it stands right now, I believe that Cannon Catchings and the Russian kid are both like lottery picks, certainly first round pick type guys. They have 2 of those guys at BYU, and they have then they're in the mix for Dybantsa, who's according to Goodman asking for $7 to $9 million, and I think BYU will do it. I think BYU is one of the few schools that's like, fuck it, dude. This is because we have a guy who, like, if you have as much money, in my mind, if you're a billionaire, you have unlimited money.
Right.
You just have.
What is $7 million to a billionaire? I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Shit. The truth is, like exactly like you just said, it's everyone has big time donors. Everyone has, big time alumni with a lot of money. But who has the active ones that would literally, like, it would change their life to see their team be like Dave Portnoy is a great example.
Dave's a great example.
Like, he will pay $3 million so Michigan gets their quarterback.
Yeah.
He wants to know who the guy is and then go get him. That's how BYU's acting right now. I don't care what the money is. I want my team.
I have to believe it's that because the having a donor that you don't have to convince at all. Not only do you not have to convince, they're like begging to like give money to the school to help them out. Which again, Dave's a good example of that. He's not a billionaire owner of an NBA franchise, but there are levels to it, and I think a lot of the schools, they have like rich as fuck people that you could sit them down and talk to them and be like, this is why we need your money, and they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll give you money. But to have a guy who's like in my mind, Ryan Smith is just like on 24/7 recruiting rankings. And I don't know. I was diving into it last night, and I was like, I don't think it's a coincidence that BYU is on the up as the Jazz are on the.
Do you think
if I was a Jazz fan, I'd be worried about this.
But the only saving grace, what if he's starting a pipeline? What if he's little Dybantsa to BYU to the Jazz? You need
how
Jazz.
How would that? You need the draft pick.
You got to tank the Jazz to get the number 1 spot.
Yeah. If this was like the old days where you had the territorial pick, that would be a good strategy. Where you could just
might not be the long con then.
Yeah, but I don't know how that's gonna work. But we'll see. I guess like see what the Jazz start doing in free agency. See what kind of money they're throwing around.
Close down the state.
If they're
borders.
if they're not tossing the bag around in free agency, we'll know why. But if Dybantsa is asking for 7 to 9 for real, BYU becomes a serious player because I don't think Dybantsa going to a Duke or Kentucky is worth it to them because they don't need what Dybantsa is going to do is put eyeballs on a program that don't have that need the eyeballs.
Yeah, he's not worth $10 million to Duke. Duke has a million people that have.
We don't have
eyeballs.
We're gonna we could throw 5 fucking schmoes out there and
it's still
we're
Duke
still gonna sign a massive TV contracts and when we play Carolina, there's gonna be 10 million people watching or whatever the number is. But if Dybantsa goes to BYU, suddenly everybody's locked in on BYU in a way that they weren't before, and I think that's what makes it interesting with his recruiting.
I got a conspiracy to run by you.
Yeah.
Is there any? I mean, there's no way he's getting $7 to $9 million. You think
yeah.
he's paying Goodman to rise his rate? Because if that's an option, let me say this: AJ Dybantsa is asking for $20 million in NIL. You just got to pay me a little bit. Well, we can just get his number up.
I don't think you'd have to pay Goodman. I think you just have to just give Goodman a little attention.
Give him some scoops.
I think what you have to do is just dap Goodman up, and
he'll just be your mouthpiece.
Yeah, you just dap him. You just fire off one clean dap, and he walks away from him. He's like, God damn,
that was worth everything I've ever done.
Fucking awesome, dude. Am I the coolest motherfucker in the world now that I just dapped up?
Just look like. I don't know. I've never heard anything in football or basketball even come close to the $7 to $9 million. So this doesn't make sense to me. Why?
I will say, basketball guys, football runs everything in terms of conference realignment, money, and college sports and all that. I do think basketball guys are worth more money because they have the ability on the snap of a finger to turn things around for programs.
Yeah,
and for like I said, for these TV contracts and attention on the program and all that, you sign. I mean, Travis Hunter was a good example when he went to Dion's Jackson State, right? That was the school he was at. He was the number one recruit in the country, goes to Jackson State, and everyone's like, man, don't care.
Right.
Not you're kind of hearing tidbits coming out of Jackson State. Every so often you'd see a clip when he was playing for Dion there. You got it in football. You need either multiple players or to be at a big program. In basketball, you don't need that.
Tennessee just got an offensive tackle, and the big story was he demanded $1 million. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll pay it. But you also need another offensive tackle, and then someone to run the football behind you.
Yeah.
Basketball, you get one dude, you can change your entire outlook.
But for $7 million, dude, you could get a starting five that's all 5 stars.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ryan Smith net worth. Ooh, he's kind of poor.
What's he got?
$2.2 billion.
2.2. That's.
I thought that was going to be higher.
Tell me that's not a dude that's locked in.
That dude, backwards hat.
Yeah, but why? What's Ishbia doing at Michigan State? I think Ishbia's. I don't know, dude. I don't know enough about these guys. I need to pay more attention to this stuff.
Follow the bag. Ooh, 10.1 for Ishbia.
Ishbia's got fucking money, dude.
Buddy, get in the game.
Yeah. I think the Michigan State thing was Dan Gilbert was. I think there's I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass.
A riff, you're saying.
I'm talking out of my ass, but I think Dan Gilbert's a Michigan State guy.
Yeah, he is.
I think Ishbia and Gilbert.
That's exactly what it is.
Don't love each other.
You're not making that up.
And I think there's some friction there with why the money machine's not going burr or whatever.
Yeah, they both want a little bit of credit. Yeah.
There's a stalemate of who's
the main supplier.
I'm not giving you this money unless you suck my dick. And you're like, well, I already promised to suck his dick. And it's well, you got to suck one dick. Whose dick's it going to be?
And that's the problem at Michigan State.
And I think that might be going on a little bit. What else we got going on? Bronny James, dude. You hear about this kid?
I did.
Oh, dude.
Led off Sports Center.
Oh, Bronny. Oh.
That was when he and his dad went on the court together at the same time in that preseason game. My breath was taken away.
Yeah.
It was historical.
Magical moment for sure.
Did you see his game log though?
What he zeros? Is he trillions?
Yeah, it's bad. He's played 3 games, gets 12 minutes a game. Hasn't hit a 3, 1 for 11 from the field. Are we gonna do this all year?
That's what I was gonna ask you. When do you think they stop talking about Bronny? And I'm part of the problem. Obviously, I'm in the media. I'm not pretending I'm not. But I generally just talk about whatever I see on TV. And then
give your take.
I see a lot of Bronny on TV right now, and I'm just curious when that's going to end.
I mean, Sham said they have plans to play them together. We're gonna see history be made. Probably in regular season game number 1.
Yeah, but then what?
I don't know because if you
it's got it by Christmas he's got to be. We got to send him to the G League by Christmas, right? I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Don't get on LeBron's bad.
You said it not too long ago. If you're a Lakers fan, you got to just be losing your mind at this whole thing going on.
It's a circus.
This whole circus.
The circus comes
charade,
to town.
This whole. What was LeBron complaining about with the Milwaukee thing too? I don't understand that complaint.
It was peak LeBron. Just I'm the most important person in the world. Whatever. He tweeted, first of all, I think he just realized it in like real time. Like someone said, hey, by the way, you have to go get on a plane because they had a preseason game against Milwaukee. And he said, can someone explain to me why we are flying to Milwaukee for a preseason game? Well, first of all, LeBron, because it'd be quite the long drive. So you're taking the plane. Second of all, you get paid $50 million a year just to play basketball. You're in the preseason. You have some home games. You have some away games. Like Minnesota just came to you. Then they went to New York. That's the way
really?
the world works.
So his complaint was just like, why don't we just play the Clippers?
Yeah, his
20 times and
his
then...
preseason schedule was home, 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 Phoenix, Golden State, and then one game in Milwaukee.
Oh, I'll defend LeBron just to say that if you've been at a job for 25 years and you have to take a dumbass trip across the country, I think I would complain about it too. But like you said, you're flying private and making
it's not the hardest.
Ungodly amounts of money. That's just like a very funny thing to, or like just be frustrated. I don't know. It's like a very funny thing to just fire off a tweet about. Be frustrated in private, dude.
The replies were great too. It's like, why are we going to Milwaukee? It's like, well, LeBron, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the Bucks play. Like that's where you have a game tonight. But also, LeBron, let me say this: if you could guarantee Milwaukee that you would play in your game when you play them this year, I see what he's saying. Like, why can't, if these games don't matter, why can't we stay out on the West Coast? Well, LeBron, it's because you're the most famous person in the world and other people want to see you. That's why they pay their money. And when you do this load management shit, I don't want to be like an old man yelling at clouds. It's kind of bullshit and people want to see you.
See you while you can. Yeah. Do we need a preseason?
6 games seems like a lot.
Preseason. Have you ever cared about a preseason? I'm trying to think of like when I was a kid, did I care about preseason?
In high school, like, did you guys have a certain amount of scrimmages you had?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I thought scrimmages in high school were a big deal to, varsity, JV, whatever. College, what's a scrimmage situation like?
Oh, it's coming up. We're getting them right now. They do. They're doing charity exhibitions have become in vogue. So we're getting a lot of. I think Memphis and Carolina are the first big one. I think that's happening Monday. I want to say. They're starting to do televised scrimmages, but it used to be the secret or televised exhibitions. I should say for charity. It used to be just secret scrimmages and
against other
schools. But it was like very controlled. It was almost never like a 40-minute like let's just play this like a real game. It was always like let's do like a 15-minute running clock where both teams play zone. And then like let's do a 15-minute running clock where both teams press. Let's do
work on some baseline out of bounds.
Let's do some
whatever.
Yeah.
So that first time you guys came out on the court in like a real game setting was against Green Bay.
And then you play one exhibition or you beat the fuck out of like an NAIA school or something that you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you'd play like Walsh or something.
Yeah. You play one exhibition. And I get really nervous for those because I was like, dude, I might get 12 minutes tonight.
It's my time.
Yeah. And I did not want 12 minutes.
Show coach.
But other than that, college has a pretty short preseason. Which this is a controversial opinion, and it's probably the wrong one. But I don't think I like the exhibitions being public. Let me hold on. Now that I'm hearing myself say this, all these exhibitions are for charity. All the money's going to good cause. So let me think this through. Secret scrimmages are so fun because the only thing that comes out of secret scrimmages generally are box scores and hearsay. And you can paint whatever picture you want with that. The exhibitions that are televised are it's more like in your face, obviously. It's not as fun to like be like, what the fuck? But like just sitting here and suddenly there's a box score that pops up on your timeline that's like, I remember one a few years ago, Marquette scored like 120 points against somebody. And I was like, what the fuck?
They're playing fast.
I think it was the Tyler Kolek Marquette. It had to have been. Maybe it was the Marcus Howard like way back then. But yeah, that was one that stood out to me. It was like I just out of nowhere, Marquette's dropping 120 points in a scrimmage. I like that a lot better than like seeing the real game, because then you're watching the real game. It feels real, And then you remind yourself this is preseason, this doesn't matter.
That's why preseason.
And you get sucked into the trap, and you're like, oh, shit, this matters, but then it doesn't matter.
It just
and then
doesn't.
Whereas the secret scrimmages, you can paint whatever picture you want. And they still have a lot of secret scrimmages. They're just not a secret.
Why do you?
Because they say they're coming, so that's not really secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are known.
Yeah. But they used to be legitimately secret scrimmages. Like
When you say secret, are you talking? They were legal, right? Like
no, they were legal.
You're allowed to do it.
You're allowed to do it. You just didn't like tell anybody. Yeah, just be like one coach would call another. Like
That's awesome.
we would call like, you just call like the Dayton coach if you're the Ohio State coach, and you're just like, you want to pop over real quick and run 5-on-5, and they're like, yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome.
And then you would just run, and then there would be like no box score getting leaked. There would be no anything else. And then you just shake hands and be like, thanks, that was good. It was good to get some good run against. Because like in practice, as you know, like you can have your starting five play the reserves, but then that's obviously a talent imbalance because the starting five is going to be better. So then you split up the starting five and put them on opposite.
No cohesion.
But then you want the starting five to have cohesion. So like the only real way to get that is to pop in with some scrimmages. So that's kind of how it started. And then quick break to talk about our friends at Cars.com. Want to find a trustworthy dealer? Want to find dealership reviews from shoppers like you? Cars.com offers the latest research, shopping tools, and dealership reviews to help every shopper find the perfect car. Every time I've ever bought a car in my life, it has been a total pain in the ass. My car right now though is getting up there in age. We'll put it that way. It's not a lot of tread on the tires left. A lot of miles being racked up. I'm in the market, potentially getting very close to buy a new car. And thankfully, I have Cars.com in my life to make this process easy because when I look back on all the other cars I bought in my life, it is just an absolute pain in the ass. But Cars.com offers the latest research, shopping tools, and dealership reviews to help every shopper find the perfect car. You can shop by monthly payment or filter by features to find the cars that fit your budget and needs. Visit Cars.com and start exploring your next possibility today. Cars.com. What else is going on? Danny Green retired. Danny Green is a legend to me.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
He's one of four players to have three NBA titles, one for each different team, and one at UNC.
Oh, say that again?
He's one of four players in NBA history to have won an NBA title with three different teams.
The other ones are LeBron James, Robert Horry, and Steve Kerr. Right?
Is that right?
Who are the other three? Steve Kerr won with – no, Steve Kerr only won –
There's only four players in NBA history.
Hold on. Horry won with – Robert Horry's one of them. He's got to be. Horry won with the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Spurs. Oh, no.
Why can't I get Cody?
No.
Oh, wait. I have him. Okay, I have him.
Robert Horry's one of them.
Robert Horry's one of them.
Okay, so
Danny Green's one of them.
And there's two more.
Yes.
I said Steve Kerr. I don't think it's Steve Kerr because
not.
Steve Kerr only won with two. Fuck.
I mean,
why did I dive into this?
No, you had it. The three different teams. Like, you had one.
I said LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron.
LeBron. Okay.
I was gonna say.
No, I thought that was sorry. Yeah, LeBron.
So you have three of the four, and then this one, I would say
LeBron.
Notable guy, but would be very impressive if you got
I can pull this. Hold on, let me think about it. Fucking. Let's see here. Clear the one. Who's?
He was a bad boy.
Oh, yeah, it's Rodman.
No.
What?
No.
Huh?
Close.
Who?
He went back-to-back in 89-90. John Sally, Pistons, Bulls, Lakers.
John Sally. Pistons. He was. Oh my
Pistons,
God.
Bulls, Lakers. Drafted 11th in 86.
I don't remember John Sally on the Bulls.
I remember him. What was that TV show he did?
Best Damn Sports Show.
Best
Period.
Damn
Yeah, with Tom
period.
Arnold.
Yeah.
With Tom Arnold. And like Chris Rose, dude.
That's how I know my John Sally.
Listen, man. Legends of the game, or historians of the game, I should say, would recognize Best Damn Sports Show. Period as maybe the first ever sports podcast. You could argue it was maybe the first ever sports podcast. It was just dudes hanging out, just shooting the shit. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Tom Arnold was there for some reason. This is when I think Tom Arnold was married to Roseanne at the time.
It ran for 8 years, 9 years. John, Sally, Chris Rose, Tom Arnold.
Who else? Those are the big three I remembered, yeah.
Here's one for you. Best damn sports show, period. Blaze the trail for today's sports podcast media.
Is that not just what I just said? Best damn sports show, period. First ever sports podcast.
Wait, Michael Irving? I forgot about that.
I'm trying to think of other thoughts I had. I think Kansas. I have some straight college basketball thoughts. I think Kansas is going to be. Obviously, they might be the number 1 team in the country at this time next week. So it's not that controversial to say. But I will say, coming off of the season they just had, maybe it is. I didn't believe in Kansas last year. That was one of my preseason takes that I ended up being right about. I was like, I don't trust the depth. They were a 4-man team and they were banged up. The four guys they did have seemed to be hurt at all times. I think Kansas is going to be good as fuck, and I'm basing that off of kind of the what you lose and what you replace thing, where they're losing McCullough, who was their best player. Hunter Dickinson won all the All-American honors last year. Kevin McCullough was their best player. Hunter Dickinson is going to be a preseason first-team All-American, Tate, and it's going to fire me up. I'm in a weird spot because I acknowledge that Hunter Dickinson is really fucking good and he puts up numbers, but Hunter Dickinson was not Kansas' best player, and I don't understand how he was the All-American and Kevin McCullough wasn't. If you watch 10 seconds of Kansas basketball last year, you were like, Kevin McCullough, the guy who can actually play defense, the guy who's like fucking carrying them on offense, like he's their best player. He missed like the people that didn't vote him All-American will tell you that he missed half the season with injury. He didn't. He only missed like 5 to 10 games or something. I don't get why he wasn't the All-American on the team last year.
Big 12 preseason player of the year.
Hunter Dickinson. Yeah, he's good. He should be in the mix.
He's the face of the team.
If you say that Hunter Dickinson is not an All-American candidate, you're wrong about that. But if I go into the season and Hunter Dickinson is the preseason national player of the year, I'm going to lose my fucking mind because he can't. He's a liability on defense and ball screen defense, and everybody knows this. And I don't understand how you can be like a weak spot on your team and also be the best player in the game. Anyway, fuck that. Like I'm trying to build bridges with Hunter. He's not at Michigan anymore. All's good. He became, to his credit, last year, he started the season. He pulled his dick out when they were preseason number 1. He was like, we're preseason number 1. I love that we're preseason number 1. All of you can kiss my ass. I don't know why he pulled his dick out to tell people to kiss his ass, but he did. It was very weird. So he puffed his chest and he was like, I love that we're number 1. We're going to beat everyone's ass. And I think Bill Self was like, Hunter, let's tone it down a little bit. And then he kind of, as they say, shut up and play basketball or whatever.
Shut up and dribble, Dickinson.
He shut up and dribbled. So I'm trying to not like stoke those flames too much, but I'm just I have a disease. You know this, Tate. I have to call it like I see it. And Hunter and pretending like Hunter Dickinson was one of the best players in the country. He was not the best player on his own team. Kevin McCullough was. Anyway, long preamble to say they're losing McCullough. I don't love that. But I do think where Kansas had a problem last year was their depth. They had 4 dudes. They if they could play 4-on-5, they probably would have. They did not love they really never figured out who the 5th starter was. I think Furphy like emerged for them late and he was playing well there for a second, and then he was never really fully what they thought he would be. I think this year they're bringing in Zeke Mayo, who's like a Kansas kid, I think, from one of the Dakota State. I think South Dakota State. Was he the Summit Player of the Year?
Yeah, he was a monster.
He was a fucking monster. They're bringing in him. They're bringing in AJ Storr from Wisconsin. They're bringing in Rylan Griffin from Alabama. And the way I see it, they basically only have to hit on one of those 3. Because when you're bringing back KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson is good. DeJuan Harris is one of the best point guards in the country. And Hunter, as much as I always have to preface by saying he is good, and then I spend the next 10 minutes shitting on him, he is good. Hunter is a very, very good basketball player that will give you like 20 and 10 basically every single night. I think, controversial opinion, the team that's going to be one of the top 2 teams entering the season, I think is going to be good. But it needs to be said because I was not high on Kansas last year, and they were very highly thought of going into the season last year. I think I'm going to be high on Kansas this year because I think last year Timberlake, who we mentioned earlier, and Furphy and some of these other guys they were bringing in didn't materialize the way they wanted them to. And I think this year you're bringing in more known commodities. One, like AJ Storr has been around college basketball a little bit. You kind of know what you're getting with him. Zeke Mayo, Conference Player of the Year. And Rylan Griffin on a Final Four team had monster games in the NCAA tournament. I think you don't even need – if all three of those guys hit, they're the best team in the country. No question about it, I think. If all three of those guys are as good as they could – if they all hit their ceiling, Kansas is the best team in the country. I think they really only need like one of them to hit their ceiling for them to be like one seed good. So I'm very high on Kansas, but also the Big 12 is going to be fucking meat grinder.
I'm super excited for the season. Obviously, we hate on the transfer portal all the time, but the one thing the transfer portal did is allowed us to have these recognizable names all meet up at places like Kansas, Alabama. UConn's coming off for a three-peat now. So there's a lot of hypes around.
Baylor's a team. People are going to turn on Baylor basketball games and be like, how do I know this kid? And you're going to see Norchad Omier, who played in a Final Four with Miami. You're going to see Jeremy Roach, who played at Duke forever. And you're going to be like, oh, they're at Baylor? I didn't realize that. And Baylor, I think Baylor, they got a freshman kid who's going to be a top 5 pick, Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe, I think his last name is Edgecombe. I don't know. I'm really good at like getting. I'm really good at doing. I'm really good at like the 80% research, and then I just can't get it to the finish line, and then it just like lingers in my head, and I'm like, and then I
VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah, and then I watch. I hear about these kids, and then I watch like 3 YouTube videos, and I'm like, God damn, pretty fucking good.
Wait, VJ Edgecombe might be the best young player on the planet, according to Locked On Baylor.
He's pretty nasty.
Shit.
He's nasty, and with Roach and Omier, who was kind of he was never thought of as the best player on that Miami team that went to the Final Four, but he was kind of the linchpin for him. I think Baylor's gonna be really good. Houston's become like just a machine where it almost doesn't matter who's there. Like Kelvin Sampson figures out how to guard. But they got LJ Cryer, who's probably the best shooter in the country. Yeah, Big 12's gonna be fucking awesome. I'm very high on Kansas. How can you not be? But I think the Big 12 is wide open. I think the Big 10, we talked about that already, is, I don't know, 10 teams can win it, it feels like. Anybody can win that league. The Big East is the only one that I think is one team and then everybody else. Because the SEC, Bama is going to be the pick to win it. The SEC has insane depth. Insane depth. They
Auburn will be great. Tennessee will be very good.
Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M is going to be good.
Texas is there now.
Mississippi State's not going to be bad. Texas is good now. Just on down the line. It's the one thing that's been hard for me with these super conferences and all the conference realignment is we said it earlier about BYU picked to finish 9th in the Big 12, that the preseason polls are very confusing because it used to be like these conferences put out their polls. Just look at like the top 4 to 5 teams. Those are the teams you need to know. And now you need to know every team because every team, the depth in these conferences are crazy. It's nuts. Like the SEC, you could finish 11th in the SEC and be a Sweet 16 team. It's that deep. That's the same with the Big 12. So, it's gonna the same with the Big 10. Like maybe Rutgers being picked to finish 15th by the Blue Ribbon. Maybe it's like more of a nod to like how deep the Big 10 is, but the Big 10 doesn't have any teams at the top. That's the confusing part for me. But yeah, the Big 10 is going to be very good. Illinois is an interesting team. Illinois, we were bouncing around teams about we were talking about the Big 10, and we were talking about like all the different teams that could theoretically win the league. We didn't really talk about Illinois, and then Illinois fans were reaching out to me, and they're like, take a peep at our roster.
People are getting a little high on Illinois.
And I did, but Illinois, I kind of dismissed them because they lost like everybody. They lost like everybody from last year. But no, Illinois got some pieces. They hit the transfer portal, they hit the recruiting, and they'll be all right too. So I'm fired up for the season. We got to get some real basketball here, though. I don't know what else. Sturgill Simpson, I guess, shout out to him. That's my last thing. Was doing a concert in Kentucky. Or no, he's doing a concert in Arkansas, and he talked shit about Kentucky coming for that ass or something. It was very funny. I saw that clip, and it cracked me up. So Kentucky, he was pouring fuel on the Kentucky-Arkansas fire. He said Mark Pope's not fucking around or something. He said that on stage at Arkansas. You know Sturgill Simpson?
Just a singer, yeah.
Yeah, he's big in the I'd say he's big in Kentucky and Arkansas. Like those,
Oh.
he's big in yeah. He's from Kentucky. He's one of my favorite musicians. But I got tagged in the clip a few times. But he was doing a concert in Kentucky, and I keep fucking that up. He was doing a concert in Arkansas, and he was just basically like, now that we got Calipari out of there, and he's with you all, we're coming for that ass. Or
I love it.
Or something. So good.
That'll be fun.
Kind of came out of nowhere. Caught me by surprise. All right, we should have a preseason poll on Monday, I think. I don't know that to be true, but I remember last year it was mid-October. It's always a Monday in mid-October, and I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, yeah, this coming Monday feels like as good a time as any to drop the preseason poll. So hopefully we have that for next week. Hopefully the NBA starts, I believe, the 22nd, October 22nd. We need to get that thing going too. I need some real basketball in my life. So by this time next week, we will have some scrimmages, some exhibitions, some preseason polls. There'll be some more stuff to talk about. So there will be that. But somehow, I just know we'll talk about Bronny and conference realignment and NIL. I just know we'll find a way. Anything else? You got anything else?
No.
You watching this Netflix thing? The starting five?
No, I've seen people talk about it. You've been into it?
Mm. No.
Too much ball on
so
right
that
now.
That was that. There's a review of the starting five. No, I was curious because I don't think I'm going to watch it, and I'm curious your thoughts on like content like that. Does that interest you at all?
Not at all. No.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Because I'm the same way. I just want to hear you say it because I wonder if we were aligned in that.
I'm definitely obviously live sports, talk sports, and then historical sports. Not necessarily like reenactment stuff.
Not necessarily like the documentary of the season that happened 6 months ago. Yeah, you don't need.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was totally lost on that. Starting five. No, I haven't seen it. People have been talking about this a lot though.
This is
the clips from Anthony Edwards came out of this.
Yeah.
This was cool. No, I don't know. I'm not necessarily.
So the idea is that Netflix struck gold with the Formula One thing. Mm-hmm. You remember like all of a sudden like 3 years ago, everybody and their mother was like, I think I love Formula One. I'm a Red Bull guy. And you're like, what are you talking about, dude? And you're like, dude, why are like you're meeting friends you haven't seen in a little while, and they're like wearing like Red Bull shirts with Red Bull logos and their Red Bull racing hats, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And you're
F1.
like, I'm an F1 guy. Yeah. You know that.
It's gonna be sick.
Because everybody watched Drive to Survive, which I watched, and I thought it was awesome too. And I understand how it happened, but then Netflix just keeps going to that well, and they did it with like golf, they've done it with tennis, and I think they're doing it with the NBA now. And I think what made Drive to Survive work for me is that I didn't know anything. I didn't know dick about Formula One, and it was fascinating to like learn about something. And I think what makes this one a tough watch for me, or like I haven't watched it yet, but why I'm not going to watch it is that I don't really feel like I need to know more about these basketball players I watch all the time.
You already know them, and also my thing with these types of things is this will be coming out. The NBA starts in 11 days. Like we get a whole nother NBA season that we're going to be paying attention to what's going on then. If starting five followed them around and produced an episode a week during the season, that'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
But
I find I'm the documentaries I'm interested in are about topics I'm not interested in.
To learn more.
Which is sort of a paradox, but it makes total sense in my mind. Like if I feel like I know a lot about something, I don't want to watch a documentary about it. Same with when The Last Dance came out.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like a hater, but everyone was losing their minds because it was COVID and we didn't really have anything to watch. And I was watching and I was like, it's all right. I mean, it's like a fun nostalgia play, but like I would much rather watch like a fucking documentary about like a banana harvester, like in like Indonesia or something. You know what I mean?
Then
like
the Bulls?
Yeah, I would because I'm like I didn't even know that these people existed. I didn't even know that this was out there. I don't need a documentary on like the most famous team of all time that like I lived through. I want to watch something on like some shit that I didn't even know. Holy shit, dude! I didn't know that there were fucking like polar bear hunters that were like out there. Shit like that. That's what I find fascinating.
I did see Anthony Edwards did give a good clip though. I saw one where he just had played Jason Tatum. He said, "Best player in the league, my ass."
Oh,
drop him my ass.
Oh, he hit him with the my ass.
Yeah.
That's a good. My ass is a good.
Yeah,
I want to bring that back. Say something and then just say my
ass.
It's like the cousin of just saying not.
Danny Hurley should have dropped a my
ass.
Ninth in the country, my ass.
Just a cooler way to be like you're pretty cool, not, which is obviously lame. But if you said, yeah, Tate, I think this podcast went well, my ass.
Comma, my ass.
My ass.
Comma.
Yeah. Is he having baby mama issues, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know what to do in that situation, but he's he wants a paternity test to make sure that the baby is his before. So he's petitioned for one.
Last thing I was gonna, last basketball thought I had. Kawhi Leonard is gonna retire. He's done. He's I don't
scoop.
know. I just wanted to
scoop.
Not a scoop. Just like as I'm trying to like pay attention to what's going on in the preseason. The two stories that keep coming out of the NBA to me are Bronny James, obviously number one. Number two is that Kawhi Leonard like has not. I don't even know if he's been in the facility. Like he's just like he has not practiced. You're seeing these reports that are like the Clippers are unsure if he's going to start the season and the season opener. I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit, dude. Kawhi was on the Olympic team, as we know. And
yeah, he was in the team photo. He will be in that team photo.
He will forever. Yeah, we'll put that
how
photo
loaded
out
that
of like,
team
look
was.
how loaded this team was. And he couldn't play because his knees weren't right for the Olympics, and now they're still not right, and they're never going to be right. He's got chronic knee problems, and Paul George isn't there anymore. The Clippers. I don't know what the over-under win total on the Clippers is, but it could be like 1.5, and I feel like I'd take the under. It feels like the Clippers are just like bottoming out. They just need to hit the pan. Like it's bad scenes in Clippers, and they're opening the new arena right now. Like this is supposed to be a fun time to be a Clippers fan. And
James Harden said they're going to play a lot of James Harden ball this year.
Yeah, they're playing a lot of James Harden ball.
Did you see his quote? It was one of the best. He's like, a lot of people said that James Harden, you can't win with him playing like that. But y'all see Luka take him to the finals, so now they're going back to James Harden.
James Harden ball. Yeah. James Harden invented one-on-one. Kawhi, I saw one of the quotes I saw from Kawhi, he was asked, he was basically asked, like, do any of these young guys impress you? I'm paraphrasing. I wish I could find it. I wish I wasn't lazy as fuck and would have actually pulled the quote. But they asked him, do any of these young guys stand out to you? And he's like, no. They're like, has anybody stood out to you watching Clippers practice? And he's like, not really.
He said, nobody stood out to me so far.
Nobody stood out to me so far. It's like it's such like an easy layup to just be like, yeah, like some of these young guys are coming along. And he's just like, no, not really, honestly. I just want to get the fuck out of here and never play basketball again. All right, that's the show. We'll be back next week. We're gonna move to 2 a week once the season gets going in November. But yeah, for now, I need some polls. I need some fucking data to go off, dude. I need some fucking shit to latch onto, and we're very close. We're very, very close. All right, everybody, enjoy the weekend. Big college football weekend. Enjoy that, and we'll see you next week.